Well, hello everyone. In this lecture, we'll learn about layouts and widgets. First of all, what is layout and what is widget? So, layout defines the structure of user interface in your application, and widgets lies under layout, right? So, basically, there are five kinds of layouts: constraint layout, relative layout, linear layout, grid layout, and frame layout, right? So the reason I have given this space between these three and these two is because these three layouts I'm going to focus on about, and these two will be your homework, right? So let's first discuss about the difference between these three layouts. And don't worry if you didn't get the definition of layout and widget. I'm going to show you in a practical way so you can understand it better, right? So let's see first constraint layout. The way you declare a layout is you open a tag and you write the name of a layout, right? And you close that tag right here. This is the way to declare a layout. And if you want to show some text, let's say on our application screen, we'll call a widget. We'll declare a widget name text view. And similarly, if you want to show a button, we'll declare a widget called button. So this is the concept of layout and widgets. So how constraint layout works, right? Let's suppose let me delete it first to show you better. Let's suppose we want to show a button in constraint layout, so we'll declare a widget named button. Width will be match parent and wrap content height. So we have declared it, but it is showing us the error right here, which is the red underline, which means the error. Let's see what it says. Missing constraints, right? So we have to give this widget constraints, that's we know, but what is constraint, right? So for now, this widget button is floating on the air, in the air. So we have to tie this button so it doesn't get doesn't fly away, right? This is just a way of explaining. So basically we have to tie this button. So how do we tie this button, and to whom we tie this button? So we have to tie this button. We can tie this with the parent. I hope you must be familiar with the concept of parent and child. We have declared this layout, and inside layout we have declared this widget. So this layout is the parent of this widget, and similarly this widget is the children of this layout, right? So we have to tie this widget with its parents, in this case constraint layout. So how do we tie this? So we give constraint. How do we do this? So clicking here we can see these 4 circles around this button. So click on one of them, and clicking it, just drag it down here and make this arrow meet this layout, its parents, right? So this is how we give constraint. So this button now has 4 constraint. So I have given constraint to the parent, right? As you can see here, parent. Now it is not necessary always to give constraint to parent only. Suppose I want to show some text on the screen, and I declare a widget text view, text, some text. Now if I want to give constraint, it is not necessary to give constraint to a parent always. You can give constraint to another widget as well. If you want to move all this both widget accordingly, you can give constraint to a widget as well, right? So this is how constraint layout works. So let's see how a relative layout work. And yeah, if you want to move this, you can just drag and drop right here. And the reason behind, if you can see, I'm moving a button and the text is also moving. The reason behind that is that we are given a constraint between them. So that is one thing to keep in mind, right? And talking about relative layout, if you know a little bit about HTML and CSS, you can wait a minute, you will know about the concept of overlapping, right? The same concept is used here. As we can see, we have three buttons: the blue one, the biggest one, the green one, which has a medium one, and the red one, which is the smallest one. So as we can see, the green button is overlapped on the blue one, and the red button is overlapped on both of them. So how do we separate them? So we give margin to them. So there are two ways you can give margin. Suppose we want to move this green button down here. So what will we do? That we'll give margin top, right? So it will move 300 pixel downside from the top. If you want to move it a little bit on right side, so we will have to give margin from left side. So what we will do is that we'll give margin left 30 dp, right? So suppose we want to move a red button 30 dp from all of the sides. What will we do? We will not use margin top, margin left, margin right. We don't want to waste our time to write 4 lines of code. Instead, we can just call margin 30 dp. If we give 30 dp of margin from all four sides. So this is how you move widgets in relative layout. And in linear layout, you have two types of linear layout. One is vertical layout and the second one is horizontal one, right? So as you can see, the overlapping concept doesn't work here. As we have given the orientation vertical, what happens that as we declare a new widget, it will place itself vertically. Suppose we create a new widget, I'm just going to copy paste it, new widget, it will place itself vertically, right? So you can also declare a layout inside layout. So let's just see an example of that. Let me declare linear layout inside this main linear layout, just like this widgets, right? So match parent and height will be wrap content, I think, right? And let me just change the background color so that you can see it clearly. And okay, this is enough, I think, right? And inside this linear layout, let me declare another button. I'm going to give width of 50 dp only, not the match parent, and height will be wrap content, right? As you can see, we have created a linear layout and inside which we have taken a button here. So if you want to create another button inside this layout, if we create it, it will give us an error. Why? Okay, it hasn't, but most of the time it will give us an error. Why? Because we haven't defined the orientation of it. We have to give orientation horizontal here. So this is how the horizontal linear layout works. Whenever we create a new widget inside that horizontal layout, it will place horizontally. I'm surprised that it hasn't given us an error, because in the most of the time it will give you an error, right? So basically this is the concept of linear layout. And yes, this is not necessary that you can only declare linear layout in linear layout. You can declare relative layout inside linear, you can declare constraint layout inside linear, you can declare relative and linear layout inside constraint layout. So you can use it anyway, any way possible, right? It is up to you how do you want to create a particular design. So this is it for this video. uh, I'll see you in the next video, where we will implement a login screen with the use of different kind of layouts. So I'll see you guys in the next video.